The NASCAR gaming sphere has been a contentious one over the last decade, to say the least. And while much of the most recent controversy has been from NASCAR 21 Ignition, there still are some facts about the company that aren't getting as much focus compared to the game's disaster itself. And I get it. Seeing what has happened with the rollout of 21 and what a disaster it was, it should be covered to the limit. You can argue that it was one of the most catastrophic debuts in all of gaming. But the outside works of the overall company can be described as kinda shady if you look at it from one point of view, and at worst, well, I'll let you decide. To start off, we'll look at a pretty interesting and relatively more covered topic in Motorsports Games stock prices. On January 15, 2021, Motorsports Games Inc. opened up on the stock market to a price of $30 a share, and it even peaked out the next month at $32.66 per share. And while the lead up to Ignition saw the price fall to just about $15, the next tumble was absolutely insane. By Christmas, it was under $4, and now, as of the start of April, the price is sitting at $1.33 a share. In the span of over 14 months, the publicly traded worth has plummeted to an eye-opening 95.57% decrease. Since the October release of Ignition, this has been emblematic of the overall public popularity and reception of the company as a whole. Even bringing on Romain Grosjean couldn't help with the prices, as they tanked even after that partnership was announced. So that's a huge indictment right there. Add to this the fact that in March, a transcript was put out on Twitter and then put in a video by Austin Aganoski that showed the funding issues in some of the highest magnitude. In the quote, it was said that, "Accordingly, we do not believe that our existing cash on hand will be sufficient to fund our operations for the next 12 months. According to the call, they have $12 million in cash left, no debt, but not much extra money. They need to find something to turn a profit if they're able to survive." With all of the different licensing deals that Motorsports Games has, chief among them being IndyCar and of course NASCAR, there will be some big investors and partners that will require answers, especially seeing that they're sponsoring the number 78 car in the NASCAR Cup Series. So let's say that the average Cup sponsorship is about $300,000 to $400,000 a race, roughly. It might be a little under or a little over that. After only 3 races of sponsorship, that would be around or maybe even over, depending on what the sponsorship was, $1 million. That's a hefty bill for those few races if the partnership were to continue. With the financial woes, you have to think that this will probably affect their properties like the future projects for NASCAR, IndyCar, BTCC, and Le Mans games. Now, I remember a similar gaming company situation like this in story-based games. If anyone remembers Telltale Games, you may have remembered the way the company unraveled and fell. Telltale, unlike Motorsports Games, had a smash hit game with the Walking Dead game, but in a similar way to Motorsports Games, Telltale began to acquire numerous high-dollar properties like The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us, Batman, Game of Thrones, Marvel, Minecraft, and more. After the initial hype, projects started to die down a little bit, and different projects would begin to get delayed, much like what has happened with the rumored pushbacks with Ignition, as well as with the IndyCar game and BTCC game that now is not even on their future forecast through 2024. This ended up leading towards the collapse of Telltale Games. And while they didn't start from the same spot, it's eerily similar to see the path that Motorsports Games is on compared to the one that Telltale was on only about a year, maybe half a year before it shut down. And this isn't a dogpile on them after having a horrible Ignition release. Instead, it's more meant to show that there may be more under the surface than most are showing or reporting on. On top of this, they claim to have over 81 million watching and following their rFactor Le Mans series virtual races. Now, if that's true, good on them. That is for the whole series, not just for one event, but let's be real, that number's a little sus, especially seeing how the audience like that would make this series more watched than pretty much any other racing series on Earth aside from Formula One. They also are moving into the NFT market as well, which is one that I'm sure plenty of people are just happy as hell about to hear about. At the moment, they are selling what are basically NFT screenshots of rFactor 2 and marketing them as virtual trading card packs. Never mind the fact that anyone could screenshot the same exact things on their own for free. This is part of a fad that companies are jumping onto to generate more money. So it shouldn't be a surprise with other parts of knowledge that we have that this is the case. This is confirmed in their call transcripts as there is doubt of their ability to continue, and it's a growing concern for them. They are confirmed to be looking for different avenues of revenue. Now, as some Twitter users have shown, the parent company overall is a technology company first, and this is a video game company second. To be honest, it reads, as Austin put it, like a money scheme. Look how poorly the company up top, not the people you see on social media or at the track, but on top, have handled Ignition's crash and burn. They have had pre-packaged open house meetings when it comes to answering fan concerns and straight up outrage, and basically answered none of it and just said, well, we'll do better. They, instead of head-on addressing the criticism, have moved to other pieces of their plans without looking at the failures of the previous pieces. They're talking about, for instance, an Ultimate Team mode without adding a rear-view mirror or actual 2022 level private lobbies. Remember, the overall reason that they were able to acquire these licenses, as well as the companies needed to make these games, were due to outside investor money. And now they're trying to float more ambitious goals for more money to use on a still relatively bare bones and pretty broken game. And the ones I feel the worst for in all this are the fans. NASCAR games have not been consistently good year over year since the early to mid 2000s on a consensus basis, and IndyCar hasn't had a game since then either. You have a product so broken that it's killed the console league gaming sphere altogether, and even killed an esports league that was an official NASCAR league for at least the time being. While I didn't agree fully or wasn't that big of a fan of that league, it shouldn't have been taken out due to how poorly constructed the game it would rely on would end up being, but instead on its merit alone. Due to this, there's been a mass exodus of content creators, users, fans, and everyone in between to iRacing. Those who regularly are still on the console game side many times just end up going back to Heat 5. It affects all of racing gaming as well as sim racing for NASCAR, as a vital pipeline to the youth of the sport is getting cut off. Think of it like this. Yes, a teenager or someone in their 20s can switch from console games to sim racing, but an 8-year-old won't start out on a sim like iRacing. They'll start on a simcade or just straight up video game. And what makes it all worse is just how good their presence is at actual NASCAR races. I hung out by the Motorsports Games tent at the Daytona 500 in 2022, as well as at Martinsville in Kansas at the end of last year. And I gotta say that it'd be a dream for me as a fan if I was between the ages of 7 to about my teens. Their engagement in person, even with the game not working well, is tremendous. But that only goes so far when the products that they're having to use are, well, let's be real and not mince words, utter garbage at the moment. Now, I've went through all the basics of this, mainly because I think that it needs to be heard and seen by more people. I've mentioned him before, but Austin Agonoski on YouTube has really covered this in much more depth, and I think that he really has a better knowledge on this overall than I do, as, well, let's be real, he's worked in this industry head on. So check out his coverage on this when you can. I'll leave a link in the description below. Now, I'll ask you though, what is your confidence in the future of NASCAR console gaming? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. A special thanks to all of my channel members for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.